Hey guys, it's James here to talk about miracles, power over death. That's the title of our final part in our miracles series. And it's been a while since we did our last video, and I'm sorry for that. We've been busy. So let's tackle our first set of scripture. And it is John 11:38 through 44. It states, "Then Jesus, deeply moved again, came to the tomb. It was a cave, a stone laid against it. Jesus said, 'Take away the stone.' Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, 'Lord, by this time there will be an odor, for he has been dead for 4 days.' Jesus said to her, 'Did I not tell you that if you believed you would see the glory of God?' So they took away the stone, and Jesus lifted his eyes up and said, 'Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me.' When he had heard these things, he cried out with a loud voice, 'Lazarus, come out!' The man who had died came out with his hands and feet bound with linen strips, and his face wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, 'Unbind him and let him go.'" Okay, so we're going to break that little bit of verses down. I've got it on my notes, so give me a minute. Okay. So in our first set of scriptures, we see that Jesus raises his friend Lazarus from the dead. Lazarus had died, and Jesus was sad that his friend had died. So in verse 39, Jesus told them to move the rock away from the door. And Martha, the sister of Lazarus, this is kind of funny, she questioned Jesus, saying, "He's been dead for four days. There's going to be odor. He stinks." And Jesus replied, "Didn't I tell you to believe in me, that the Lord has sent me?" And then in verse 41 and 42, Jesus prays to God, the Father, loudly so that everybody could see that he sent him. And then in verse 43, Jesus yells at Lazarus to get up. In verse 44, Lazarus comes out of the cave where he was buried. So, that being said, there's one account of Jesus having the power over death, a miracle, so to speak. The next set of verses is in Mark 16, 1 through 8. And it's about the resurrection. It says, "When the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James and Salome, bought spices so that they might go and anoint him," being Jesus. "And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. And they were saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance of the tomb?" And looking up, they saw that the stone had been rolled back. It was a very large rock. And entering the tomb, they saw a man sitting on the right side, dressed in a white robe, and they were alarmed. And he said to them, "Do not be alarmed, afraid." And he said to them, "Do not be alarmed or afraid. You seek Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him. But go tell his disciples and Peter that he is going before you to Galilee. There you will see him just as he told you." And they went out and fled from the tomb, for trembling and astonishment had seized them, and they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. Okay, so here we see a couple of things in Mark. Okay, this is the most famous account of power over death. Jesus resurrected after his crucifixion, where his body was ravaged and destroyed pretty much by a cat o' nine tails, which is a whip that has little prongs on it that rips flesh, a whip, a crown of thorns thrusted into his head or onto his head, and holes in his hands and feet from the spikes where he was put on the cross. He was dead 3 days and rose on his own accord. Jesus proved he had power over death itself. So this is what I gather from this entire series. Jesus had the power to feed and multiply the amount of food. Jesus had the power to heal diseases other people couldn't heal. Jesus had the power over death itself. He had the power to raise his friend from the dead, but ultimately had the ability to raise himself from the dead so he could fulfill the scripture that prophesied that a person would rise from the dead on the third day. So y'all have a great day. I'm going to work on our next series of videos. It may be a week or two, but I'm going to get back to it. Have a great day. Bye.